Well, hello, BookTube. You're getting me instead of me and Becky because Becky doesn't. This is a TBR, and Becky doesn't really make TBRs. So you got me. She is such a mood reader that she just doesn't really make TBRs. And I've actually gotten to the point to where I make less of a TBR. Like I'm not really planning out that far ahead, and the reason being is because I'm trying to leave a little bit of room for my mood. So, these are just coming in the next week or two, something like that. So, I wanted to let you know what I'm reading, and I want to let you know what I'm about to read. And then tell me if you've read any of these, what you think of them, and I'm sure there's quite a few of them here that some of you have read. These are all pretty well-known books, except for one, I would say. Two of them are actually rereads, which is very different for me. Actually, three of these are rereads. Very different for me. But I'm kind of getting into rereading lately. Just because I read it when I was younger or a kid, doesn't mean that I don't need to read it again. As a matter of fact, I think it's a good thing that I'm getting back to these and seeing how they hit me now, instead of how they hit me when I was 15 or 16 years old, or even younger. In the case of, Frankenstein, I was probably about that old when I read it the first time. But yeah, we'll get to these. We'll let you know what I'm reading right now, and how I'm enjoying them, and all that. And I'm a little late getting the TBR for January out, so. But here it is. Late or not, it's here. So I want to let you know what I'm reading right now. The first one I'm reading with Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics, and it is Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. As you can see, I'm not all that far into it yet, but I think I'm liking this a lot. It's hard to say at this point because it's so frantic. Everything moves at such a pace that the conversation goes at a quick pace. There's a lot of dialogue, and I like that. I like a lot of dialogue, especially when it's inventive dialogue, like Rushdie writes. This is my first Rushdie book, but I've read, little bits and pieces of Rushdie here and there. But this is a vintage copy. It's a British copy. As you can see, it says £6.99 on the back, and I don't know when this came out. Let's see. This copy came out in 1995. Book came out in 1991 or 1981, and I believe won the Booker Prize in 81 or 82, and has actually won the Booker of Bookers since then, as it says right there. So this is considered to be the best book to ever win a Booker Prize. I'll tell you what I think of it when I finish it. So far, I think I like it quite a bit. It's hard for me to say 100% because I'm not that far into it. But so far, I'm finding it extremely interesting. It takes place in India. The Indian customs and stuff I'm finding fascinating. I like it a lot. This is probably going to show up backwards. I didn't change my settings yet, so sorry about that. But as you can see, I don't like this cover that much. It's okay, but I actually like the current U.S. cover of this book, and I think Salman Rushdie actually lives in the U.S. now. He suffered an attack last year, which I guess was kind of inevitable after he wrote the Satanic Verses, which is one of the most controversial books ever, and it might be a book I read this year because MJ at Reading This Life is doing 24 and 24. She's reading 24 banned books this year. I'm not going to get to 24, but I want to read as many as I can. And I think the Satanic Verses is going to be one that I'm going to read. It's not one you hear a lot about when you talk, but look the story up. If you don't know anything about Salman Rushdie or the Satanic Verses, look that up. Very, very interesting story. And he suffered an attack this last year and almost died. And and you'll find out why. But yeah, I think I'm going to like this. The next one I'm reading is actually on my my Kindle here, and I'm reading this with a group. I'm reading it with our friend Brian. I'm reading it with Dave and Olive from. Man, I'm not good with channel names today. I can't remember channel names to save my life today. And I'm reading it with Brandy from the Book Eclectic. I remember hers because I've known her a long time. But Dave and I, we've gotten to be friends over the last couple of months, and I've really enjoyed talking to him. But we're reading The Chrysalids by John Wyndham. And this is excellent. Like, I finished, I'll talk to you about what I just finished. It's The Kraken Wakes I finished by John Wyndham, and I did not enjoy it at all. Like, I thought it was definitely lower tier Wyndham, and not only is it lower tier Wyndham, I just don't think it's a good book. You know, you'll hear some people say, maybe a bad book from this certain author is better than 90% of what's out there. Not for John Wyndham, because The Kraken Wakes was just not good. It was not written well. It was a mess. I know a lot of people really like it, and I don't get that at all. But if you feel like it, good for you. I just didn't care for it at all. But The Chrysalids is well, I'm not going to say a whole lot about it because it could easily be spoiled. It is a book that just kind of moves at an incredible pace. Like, the pacing is excellent. We were just talking about that this morning. Becky's reading this with us as well, and Becky, I guess, is enjoying it, even though it's really, yeah, she's enjoying it, even though it's real. Some parts of it are bothering her because it does have some really, really serious violence and stuff in it. But yeah, enjoying this a lot. And Midnight's Children I'm enjoying marginally, but I think it's something that I'm really going to enjoy as it goes along. The next one I'm actually listening to on audio while I work, and it is The Halfling's Gem by RA Salvatore. It is a Drizzt book written by R.A. Salvatore. It takes place in the Forgotten Realms universe in the Dungeons and Dragons franchise, and I'm really enjoying it. It's better than the last one, which was A Crystal Stream that I just finished not long ago. Did not care for it. The Halfling's Gem is a reread. I read it years and years and years ago, probably not long after it came out, and I liked it then, but I'm liking it more now. But yeah, the previous one I didn't care that much for. The Icewind Dale trilogy I don't like as much as the Homeland trilogy, which actually happened before this, but was written. But yeah, let's see, happened before this, but was written after. So yeah, it's much better than this series. So, but I am looking forward to finishing this book. This is the last book in the trilogy. Looking forward to finishing it so I can move on to another series with Drizzt. And that's what I'm reading. Now I'm going to tell you about what I plan to read. And I do have most of it here on my Kindle. And you see my little Kindle case. I like this. It's kind of a rubbery design. I've dropped this already, and this really does protect it. Like, it's real springy. If it hits the ground, it doesn't cause it to hit hard and crack the screen or anything. But this screen would be hard to crack anyway. These things are tough. I know they make screen protectors for them, but I like my responsiveness, so I don't think I'm going to put one on there. But let's see what is next. I'm not reading this next, but I am going to be reading this soon. And this is a really crappy cover, but I have a paper copy of this at home. I'm not home right now, but I have a paper copy of this that I will show when I finish reading it. It's Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This is a reread. I read this a very long time ago. Actually, though, I think I've read this since Becky and I have been together, so as well. So this will be, I guess, my third time reading Frankenstein. And really, really excited to read this again because now that I'm even more into science fiction and horror, I expect this to really hit me a little bit harder than it ever has. I enjoyed it. Like, I think it's extremely well written, and just the writing is beautiful. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back into this. That's not going to be my next read, though. I'll probably finish the month off with that or similar. Another one I'm going to be reading. This is a book by one of my favorite horror authors. His name is Michael McDowell, and the book is Katie. And it says up top, a great read, evocative of another era, engrossing from the first page, chilling, from Publishers Weekly. Michael McDowell is an amazing horror writer that just very few people talk about. And when they do talk about him, they're usually talking about the Blackwater books. But I actually prefer The Elementals. It's a book. It's probably about 300 pages, maybe a little bit less. And The Elementals is creepy. It's awesome and highly, highly recommended. Becky and I both love it. We actually did a listen of that book. We listened to it on audio on the way back from Missouri during a trip we were taking, and we listened to the whole thing, and man, did we ever love that book. And it's become one of our favorite horror novels. Probably is my favorite horror novel, The Elementals. So if you haven't read it, give it a shot. But yeah, Katie. Oops. Sorry about that. I'm sure that was loud. But yeah, cool cover. This looks really good in full color. This cover does, but of course my Kindle doesn't have any color. So let's see what is next. And I got one more that I'm going to talk about. And this is a reread as well, but it has been many, many years since I read this. I read this with a friend probably 25 years ago, and it's The Stars by Destination by Alfred Bester. This is my next read. When I finish The Chrysalids, this one is next. It's not a very long book, I don't think. Let me see. I don't know if it says page numbers. Kindle's really weird about that, giving you page numbers or not. Let me check and see. Yeah, it has page numbers. So yeah, it's 320 pages, so it won't take me long to read. This is a book that I really enjoyed the first time I read it. This one and The Demolished Man I really like a lot. But yeah, this is next, so I'm excited about reading this. And I'm trying not to put so much science fiction into my TBR. I don't want to read all science fiction. You know, I'll throw in some fantasy here and there, a little horror. But this is mostly science fiction this time. But then I got magical realism here. You know, Salman Rushdie. So yeah, those are the books I'm reading and the books I'm about to read. So please let me know what you think of these things. And if you'd like to buddy read any of these with me, yeah, let me know. It's a little late for Midnight's Children and the Chrysalids and the Halfling's Gem, but if you're wanting to read Frankenstein or Katie or The Stars My Destination, just let me know. I would love to buddy read these with somebody. So just know I'm going to try to get through them fairly quickly. So if you're a fast reader and you want to do a buddy read, please jump in. I mean, you don't have to be a fast reader. Just know I might try to be finishing it pretty quickly. But yeah, let me know. And let me know what you think of these. But yeah, that's it. I will talk to you soon, BookTube.